you want, what you want. Come on. What you want. Come on. What you want.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Online Motivation Show with me, Hilman Basri, coming back from a series of projects and productions before this. But now I'm back on the Online Motivation portal, and today we're going to talk about something that is very general, but at the same time it is also very important to know about it. Okay, today we're going to talk about the past is not the future. Okay, it's something that is very commonly being discussed, especially in motivational talks, and especially in a lot of workshops and a lot of camps, youth camps especially, that requires a lot of explanation and a lot of synergy to boost people's morale and people's confidence. Let's see, what they're trying to say is basically very simple. Your past could be anything. Alright, some people have their past so well lighted up, so well guided, so well pursued, and then you see them being a much more perfect person because everything seems to be so perfect for them. It's like so perfectly running, and then you get so kind of like envious with this bunch of people. Whereas when we look on the other side of the platform, we see another type of people who are not really born in a perfect way. I'm not saying that they're not perfect in terms of physically, but I'm saying that, all right, they might come from broken homes, they might come from all the other diversities that most commonly add to their disadvantage more than their advantages. So with all these mishaps, with all these what we call it problems evolving around them, okay, if at the end of the day they succeed, it could be one of the most engaging and one of the most memorable experience in their life. And when they share it to people like you and me, we will find it very uplifting and motivating to hear upon. However, one thing to take note in all these takeaway stories, all right, doesn't mean that when you are, you have a very early start. I mean, you are perfect from the start. I mean, you get good grades, you get good results when during your primary and high school years, and then you go to a good university. That doesn't mean that your pathways will always be like that. You see, life is always a struggle. As I mentioned in my previous lectures and my previous videos, life is always an up and down battle. Okay, the tides is never always on the high, and the tides is never always on the low. So sometimes we must always understand that certain problems or certain challenges that we face could be the uplifting mode for us to actually achieve greater heights. At the same time, it could also be the downward spiral that we are about to experience in our lives. You see, when we talk about, uplifting, we talk about pursuing something, we are always, assuming we should always be motivating ourselves to something which leads to a certain positivity. Alright, we don't want to think negative and then leads to a lot of negative stuff. That is a so-called, like a death sentence when it comes to pursuing, or when it comes to you wanting to motivate yourself to do other things. But the thing is this, now we talk about the past. Have you ever wondered why people who, are so perfect in the past, like they get good grades and then they get good results, when faced with a certain type of maybe mild kind of dilemma, they just freak out? Alright, I'm not saying this in general, but I'm just saying this from what I experienced in my life when I did my, when I go for further studies, and I had, teammates, coursemates, as well as fellow interns who are far way better than me when they are in high school. They get good grades. As I mentioned before in my past videos that, you know, I was a late bloomer. I'm a late bloomer, and then I only bloom only after I reached tertiary level. I wasn't that good in terms of my academics back in my primary and high school years, but then when I was doing higher education, alright, when I mean higher education means I was doing a postgrad education, I noticed that, you know, my classmates are from a lot of diversity. They come from a lot of socioeconomic backgrounds, and they are from a level that most of them, right, in general, most of them, I can say 80 to 90% of them are way better than me in terms of academics back in high school and maybe preschool, primary school, stuff like that. Okay, but I never take the intention, and they never see themselves as someone that is perfect and someone who is so good from the beginning. In fact, they told me that, you know, there come a time in their lives, you know, that regardless of whether they are perfect or whether they score good grades, there come a time in their life when they face the first sign of failure in their life that they actually freak out, and they actually find it hard to get back on track to that, you know, to that perfect pattern that they used to adopt before this. Then I realized one thing, you know, human beings, there can always, you know, be similarities in the way we try to uplift ourselves, we try to motivate, we try to improve ourselves. Okay, no matter how good we are when we start off, we can always be bad at the end, or whatever, how bad we are at the starting point, we can always be good at the end. That is what, you know, we all desire to be. And I got a feeling that, you know, human beings, whether or not they are born, you know, to be bright, or they are born to be, you know, gifted, talented, we should always embrace each other's capability, because that is the one thing that uplifts every single one of us, humankind, the whole mankind. You know, see, when I talk about these issues, you know, sometimes I have to be careful, because there are people who consider themselves as perfectionists, and they would never, you know, see failure as something which is in their vocabulary. You see, failures has always been in my vocabulary since I was already starting my school years, you know, and I, you know, receive a lot of failures quite frequently, and so much so that I begin to consider myself just an average student who is not so good in their studies. But, you know, I always have this thinking that I'm good at something else. But no matter how much you are good in that something else, now it's time for you to study when you're in high school. So your main priority is to pass your exam. Whereas the challenges that people who are academically good is that sometimes they force themselves to be good, or sometimes they are just, you know, brilliant. You know, they can remember stuff, they can memorize stuff pretty quickly, just like that. And then the moment they get a slightly lower marks, but they are in that, you know, the top range mark, but let's say they score 97 when they aim to get slightly higher, they get a lot of disappointment. You see, this disappointment could be actually the first, you know, step to you having a very negative impact on yourself. I mean, I'm not saying this through experience, but I'm saying this through what people who have always seen themselves as perfectionists, who have always seen themselves as, you know, whatever I have to do well, and I have to be, you know, on top form, because not, alright, I'm going to get disappointed. Okay, the first sign of disappointment towards something could lead to the ending point of you actually going down the spiral, the downward spiral that we are all trying to avoid in the first place. Alright, so on top note, I would say that, you know, when you have little expectation, you have little disappointment. However, a lot of people misunderstood or misconstrued what I want to say when I said about, you know, having little expectation means having no expectation at all. Now, I'm not saying having no expectation. But what I'm saying is, alright, if you are in, let's say you score, like what I said before, 97 out of 100, you know, consider yourself very lucky and consider yourself good, alright? Reward yourself instead of being disappointed with yourself. I mean, you, at the end of the day, you know, 95 still falls under A1 or A star in some countries, or some educational prospect. You still, you know, are in the top band. So why disappoint yourself by saying that I should have scored better at that time? Because at the end of the day, when I was in uni, and doing my postgrad, masters, and all this stuff, the highest grading that we can get is HD, which is high distinction. And then high distinction means is like your score is from 80 and above to 100. So if you score 97, you score 98, 99, you still fall under HD. So under your report book, it falls under HD. Then a lot of them came up to me and then said, oh, but then it will actually jeopardize our GPA. You see, this GPA thing, you got a 4.0. Of course, 4.0 is the perfect GPA for any tertiary education. But the thing is, all right, I always tell my students, as long as you did your best, you pass with flying colors, or you achieve a certain grades, alright, which is not that bad. I'm not saying about failing. I'm saying about grades that is pretty reputable and pretty impressive grades. Okay, it doesn't matter so much, whether you get full mark. I mean, people don't actually look at that. People, after you get your paper, people look at what you can contribute to your new company, to your new workplace and stuff like that. People don't really care so much about how much you score for your exam, unless, of course, you want to be an educator or a lecturer, which is not totally right after you graduate from university, because you still need some working experience to go into lecturing, into educating and stuff like that. Okay. With that being said, okay, when we talk about the past and the future, okay, the past doesn't define the future. I totally agree with that statement, because what happened in the past, what you actually committed in the past, the crime, the naughty stuff, the nonsense that you created in the past doesn't define what you are today. Today you might be a very professional person or someone with a profession. You can be an educator, you can be a teacher, you can be a lawyer, doctor, etc., etc. But what you did in the past doesn't really define you. It's it's a mundane thing, something that you can just reflect once in a while, but then you don't ponder upon it so much because it's the past, right? People do naughty stuff, people do stupid stuff in the past, right? It's because we were young and then we start doing all this type of notorious stuff. But at the end game, that's the most important thing, right? People want to see what you develop out of it. Okay, that is one of the most amazing paths that I love to see some of my students going through. They can be one of the most lazy kid, they can be one of the most notorious naughty kid, all right, smart ass kid, but then at the end of the day they reach to a certain height that is over my expectation and towards their desired path. That's the most important thing. All right, I don't wish to see students who were so good in high school, scored good grades, and then they ended up just being something that they are not desired to be, or worst of all, they are forced to be, and they don't like what they are doing currently. So a lot of times when I do a lot of career guidance type of counseling and coaching, I always ask them what is it that they want. That's always the first question that I ask. What is it that you want? Okay, you have a very good score, you have a very good resume, but what exactly are you looking for? What actually that you want? So a lot of times what they want could sound a bit unclear, because they will be like, I want to help people, well, there's a lot of ways to help people, okay? But it all started out, then when I get to know them better, I want to know how's their past and stuff like that, then we could see a series of patterns, evolving around this particular individual, okay? So whether or not the priority, whether or not to change that pattern or to actually follow that pattern, but this time follow towards a different goal or different desire is another thing. All right, so I would say the past doesn't define you. That's totally correct, because you can do a lot of things in the past, but the future is what holds you. The future is the mystery. The past is a history. We listen to that proverbs all the time, that metaphor all the time, and it sounds so profound that it's becoming a tool for motivational speakers like me to use it all the time. However, I don't want people. I mean, I also see people. Not say that I don't want, but unfortunately I see people who happens to be on this other side of the platform, which is, right, they are so mesmerized and they are so flattered about what they achieved in the past that they forgot the future is what holds them to it, and the future is what they have not achieved anything about it. Okay, I'm saying this on a general platform where, you know, someone who keep on, when you sit down and talk to them, they keep on saying, last time I was this, I was that, I was this, I did this, I did that. Something that, you know, is impressive last time, that time when they were at the peak. But today, they are just someone normal and they keep on bragging about what they did in the past. We don't want to fall into that platform either, okay? So we want to fall into a platform of something that, you know, the past is a history, whatever you did in the past is gone, all right? But because of what happened in the past, the challenges that I went through, all right, and the determination that I go through, today, the future, this is what I became, you know. I became someone professional. I became someone that is useful to the society, okay? We don't want to fall under that category of, oh, I did this, that. I was a, you know, I was a whatever, you know, impressive thing in the past, but today I was just like this, you know. Today there must be a certain failure. If people like this exist again, I would say it's time to bounce back up, to make what you are currently right now a past, and then develop into a new future. All right, it's not too late to develop yourself. It's not too late to improve yourself, you know. Pursue something that you really want, that you really desire. Okay, I always, you know, counsel students in a lot of these rehab places, and a lot of them are haunted by the past. And how do we actually, you know, eradicate that haunting from them? Is to actually, you know, move them towards looking at the light at the end of the tunnel, which is the future. So I would say, at the end of the day, the past doesn't define you. Yes, totally 100% true. Okay, then again, you have to really pursue what you want to do, because if not, your past will still remain like that until today. You will still be, you know, within the past, and people will just say that the past defines you. I mean, we often hear stories, or we often hear people saying that, oh, once a thief, always a thief. You know, such proverbs, such metaphors can be thrown away because people change through time, right? Through rehabilitation, through, you know, counseling, through coaching. People change, you know, and it's up to them to make that change. And we have to allow them and give them the time to make that change. Okay. I never have any expectation towards my clients or my students when it comes to what they want to do or what they want to achieve. I never had any expectation. Therefore, I don't really have so much disappointment when things doesn't go through their way. But of course, I will always keep on motivating them so that they would, you know, pursue that dream and don't just let that dream be a dream. All right? In terms of when I was an educator, right, as in teaching academic stuff, I realized that, you know, as teachers, we put a lot of expectation on our students. And when our students don't meet that expectation, then we get a lot of disappointment. So there's a different ball game when you are going into this profession and then that profession. So you see a bit of changes. Well, that is what, you know, I face. But then again, when we talk about past and the future, yes, the past is a history, the future is a mystery, and then we want to work into that mystery, work into something that we really wish to pursue, that credibility. This is the time to actually see what you're good at, right? What's your talent? What's your passion? All right, drill on it. All right, make good use of that talent to do something. Okay, the best is to do something good for humanity or for your society. Okay, I always said that the more we give, the more we will get. You know, and as a very frequent volunteer of many organizations, I always promote volunteerism to each and every one of my clients or my students, because you don't know that a lot of light, a lot of things can actually sparkle when you see something that you do voluntarily. Okay, some people will say, oh, volunteering is a waste of time. That's up to them. But you being in that shoe, all right, if you were one of my clients, one of my students, all right, I would never tell you that volunteering is a waste of time, because a lot of things that help me change to be a better person, to be a more useful person to the society, to the country, to everyone else, to humanity, is because of my time that I did a lot of voluntary work with several organizations, and I saw the people that are less fortunate than me, achieving and trying their very best to achieve their passion, their greatest height. And then I told myself, if they have that courage and have that wisdom to actually pursue something like that, why can't I do it? So that's how it motivates me to go on and on with my life, going through certain challenges and then beat those challenges, overcome those challenges and those hassles, those mishaps, and change it into a reality that you are there to help people, and you are there to be in the position that you have the power to elevate someone's to boost their self-esteem and self-confidence. So my friends, when we talk about the past, let the past be a past, all right? The future is what holds you to it, and I wish you all the best for your future endeavors, and then pursue your passion and your talent. Find the real meaning of what you're made of and what you really want. And I gotta say that when you reach that certain heights, if you were to reflect and then look back on your past, right, the more darkness the past holds you, right, the more darkness your history is upon you in the past, and then today when you are up there reaching greater heights, being successful, you will see that you have actually elevated yourself from nothing to someone extravagant. So keep working hard, keep helping people, and keep embracing the people around you to reach their greatest height. And in return, all right, God Almighty and yourself will elevate yourself to greater heights in the future. All right, this is my 2 cents opinions about the past that doesn't define you. So let's look forward to the future and put the past away one side and call it a history. Okay, so that's it for me tonight on the Online Motivation channel. Okay, I will be back with a lot of other videos. We will talk about other normal general stuff, just to keep you, pumping up to pursue what's best for you. Okay, if there's any questions, you can always log on to theonlinemotivation.com, and then you can always ask us any question, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. All right, I'm Hilman Basri signing out from the Online Motivation channel. All right, thank you so much. Bye bye.
What you want?